What are you doing?
Reverend Fathers, Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask the Minister now to put the tape and declare the school open, please.
Thank you very much, Father Canon and Fathers, ladies and gentlemen. This is a real community effort, and I'm going to ask two people to share the opening of your school with me this evening. And I'm going to ask the young boy and the young girl just immediately here beside me to do the cutting on my behalf.
I know.
You managed to lift the troop on it.
He will, I will. Wait a minute now. Hold a minute now. That's the girl.
Just come beside you.
These Breaffy children are well fed. They're heavier than I thought. Come on, Canon, get in there. Get in, Noel, get in there. All right.
That's the girl. No.
All right, push away. That's the boy.
No, you, go on.
Come on, Dad.
No.
Good yourself.
Come on, Dad.
And you go.
A few more.
I don't know, but I hope they're feeling fine.
Very impressive.
Oh yes, it's easy enough actually. I'm sure you. When are you going? You're going to the
Main contractor said go up to Breaffy house in the morning. Yeah. You would get around. That's sweat my God. That's great.
I could have your attention for just a few moments, please. Canon Blake, Reverend Fathers, my colleague Enda Kenny, distinguished guests and people of the Breaffy community. The wife lum ardús, my week is a coranoon, the ahar buggy, a subcon kira a hug shekagam, family no hen behan shot in ena cliff a lot, an ócád fear hawk shot and duty shot. Agus dar noi is bunver a glach made an kira shin, as behan shot yacht, in my car ilig, kun an oscailt effigiúil ien of the hagan scale newer. And white am kidju ardús leis an malú, an Cogarticus a glach on Canon Blake, the Killadina Evi Portak, agus a Glock Port, in some Fergra, but some Tobuna Fergan of Sean Skelmanua. Canon, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen. I was pleased with one particular matter coming in from the main road this evening, and it was that it hadn't happened under the fear that I had, that perhaps it might have been included in the work that was to be undertaken here in the development of the school, that they might have knocked down the wall around the old school where myself and Linda Kenny trade blows here at every election time. He's up here threatening to heckle me at every opportunity, which he's wont to do outside of here. But this, of course, is a different occasion, and it's a happy occasion for all of us. And, of course, it's particularly happy for me in many respects, but it does something very special. It stops a few women from this part of the parish from continually annoying me. And I know that while the whole community here participated in bringing this happy occasion about, I want to say to you that if Mary Higgins aided and abetted by two other capable females known as Breda Hope and Dolores Gannon, had stopped wearing a path into Newtown, I was giving up. But they're not so bad. But when you're getting phone calls in the middle of the night from a lady called Mary Welch, Mary Andrew Welch, it's enough to turn anybody round. And of course, it's a beautiful building. It's a lovely building, and it's not necessary for me to go through the long list of people who have contributed in making it such a lovely building. Canon Blake has done that very adequately. But I am going to single out another man of the cloth. All is forgiven, Father JJ. My oh my, what a local curate he is. And anything he didn't have to say, the other 3 or 4 women could say it well on his behalf. But happily, all credit, certainly it was a conspiracy, all credit is due to those people, especially those people, and to the community at large. But I have to say something else that perhaps you don't know. This perhaps you don't know. Little caucus meetings between Canon Blake and Pádraig Flynn will go unrecorded in the annals of this parish. But I can say to you now that Canon Blake helped to change a lot of the ground rules. And this new school here is the first that broke the traditional way of doing things. It was a change that has caused an enormous movement in policy insofar as building and financing and designing of public schools are concerned. And that was achieved through a little bit of fancy footwork and a bit of prodding by the good Canon. Canon, you and I should go far together. Not many of you will remember, of course, when the previous school was started in 1890. Long time ago. And it cost the princely sum. In 1890, the old school cost £242. God be with the days. The new school, of course, the new school, to replace that 2-teacher school that so many of us remember so well, The new school, of course, has a lot of classrooms. 7, I think, Tom, is it? 8 classrooms. And of course, it costs an awful lot more money, almost £350,000. And of course, the difference in scale is enormous. But it's an important matter for us this evening. And I would like to thank as well, over the years, for the great assistance to the community and the great assistance to me also in making the right push at the right time, my colleague in Decay. The school is enormously important in any community or district. The church is the first place. Canon Blake has spelled that out very adequately. But the school here is the focal point of so many things. It's the centre of excellence in any community. And Breaffy has a long and strong tradition in that excellence. There's a great community spirit. The people here pull together, and when they do, nothing can stop them achieving. And there's always been a wonderful, strong tradition here too, in the community, to things Irish. An Changa Dúkish, Dausa, agus an Ireland. Dance and culture, and language, and things strongly national and cultural have always had a wonderful place here in Breaffy community. The school will continue to make that possible for the years to come. It was badly needed. There's no question in the world about that. And indeed, it's the first of the new type of thinking that now permeates the Department of Education in design, the finance and construction. And I know that Prunchis O'Mway Louis and on Unadi Akan Shop Harkion the card coming in Edgy and Tussel and Gary Gunin Teen Sheets on Lumsa. Go will me the Jane of Untrok Cart and Ishia. Magile, Togali, August Magile, Kursi Agadish Lahai Edicus and Nashuntan, the Chiri Shop. I have to say that the community, of course, deserve the greatest praise. Community cooperation is everything. The parents are the first. The parents here that send their children to this school, they must take the first praise for their achievement here. And the people generally in Breaffy, they've contributed generously of their time, their money and their efforts. They deserve all our thanks. The teachers are special. And it's well said of Tom and his staff that the people of Breaffy are served by one of the best staffs of any school in this country. And we all the Board of Management, they're different. There's no question in the world about that. They have achieved something in advance of when it should have been achieved. And while I did single them out, I know there are others. And every single one of them, the men stay unnamed this evening, but every single one of them did a magnificent job on behalf of the parents and the people of Breaffy. And then, of course, it comes to the few politicians. The much maligned people of our country. And, you know, while they talk about politicians sometimes, it's easy for me to say it here now. I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time when I was needed most by the people of Breaffy, and it was my pleasure to do something for them. The same applies to Enda. And there's been a good relationship here in this community and this parish. And I'm satisfied that if we have a realistic view and a positive view to everything that's happening in our community and in our town, nothing is impossible. And I think you'll all agree with me that very many major changes have taken place in this community and district over the past number of years. The town and the village here is buzzing. There's a good air of confidence amongst the community, and those kind of things don't happen by accident. And what we're asking you here this evening is that you would continue that support, that community effort that makes it all possible. Priests, politicians, teachers and community, we stick together. The world is in our hands. I'd like to declare officially open the new school, and I look forward to its continued success on behalf of the people of Breaffy in the years to come.
Thank you, Minister. Now I would ask Mr. Enda Kenny if he'd say a few words.
Canon Blake, Reverend Father Buggy, Fathers, Mr. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I thought that after Minister Flynn proposed his colleague for the presidential nomination today, I thought for a horrible moment that he was going to imagine that he was at a Fianna Fáil meeting here and start into it. But I'm glad he didn't. And I want to say that
I'll have it out with you before.
I'm very glad to be here on this very historic and important occasion for the people of Breaffy. Now, I remember some years ago, actually, Father Cribben, wherever he is, was signalled out for special mention. And he's a man who doesn't forget easily. In 1975, on a very wet day, wintry day, down in Charlestown, the Island Lady football team played Hollymount. And the corner forward for Hollymount was J.J. Cribben. And in less than 2 minutes, he caught his first ball and left a big mark on the crossbar. After which he uttered a word which I cannot repeat here. But for which I forgive him, because he was within the confines of a GAA pitch. But I think he held it in for both myself and Minister Flynn, because we came here to a meeting in Breaffy some years ago. And just as the meeting was about to start, Father JJ gets up in the front and he says, "Now both you gentlemen are above the door, and Breaffy has to jump the queue, and I'll take no more nonsense from either of you." And while John Fitzgerald is recalling this, I can't say what actually happened, but I will say that Breaffy moved along rather speedily after that. And that when I next met Deputy Flynn outside on the wall, we were both able to report progress to the people of Breaffy, and you signed your rewards to both of us in the black box after that. And long may you continue to do so. I'd like to say in that context that, indeed, as Pádraig has mentioned, in the last 7 to 8 years, there has been a great resurgence and an invigoration in an educational sense in our county, and indeed particularly in this constituency. The last 7 or 8 years there have been a great deal of new primary schools built, not alone in Breaffy, but in places as far flung from Binghamstown to Kilmaine and the Neil and Snugborough and indeed Castlebar and so on. And this is very important both for the children and for the parents. I suppose if I said that most of those occurred within the coalition years, he wouldn't agree with me. But I was very glad to support any movement for the development of Breaffy and Castlebar, and Pádraig Flynn, in the time that he was in opposition, which will probably be soon again, will continue to do so as well.
Get your clap for that.
There's one man I'd like to thank down here, and that's Willie Cosgrave, who was in the same class as myself going to school, And indeed, he's in a different class than me now, because I pass in by his house there and I try to count the number of windows on it. And you know, in the days before free transport, Willie cycled into school with his good friend Brendan Heenan 8 or 10 miles every morning and out again in the evening. And if he didn't retain all the elements of Shakespeare, he certainly retained all the elements of construction. And he's a very fine builder and he's done a fabulous job here, and he deserves your highest credit along with all the other people. And finally, I'd just like to say that, you know, when you consider the fine facility that Breaffy now has, and the fine facilities that other schools have, the end product emerging from these must not be children who go on a rampage and get into a drunken stupor after the intercert results come out or whatever. There is a responsibility upon the parents, upon the teachers and upon the students to use these facilities to the extent for what they were intended for. And that is to turn out students and young people who have an appreciation of what it is to be Irish, who have an appreciation of what it is to have public money spent in the provision of facilities for them, and to have an appreciation of what good things there are in life and what they can achieve through the educational process. And I hope that the people of Breaffy, as a community, as the Minister has mentioned, will remember that in the times ahead, and that this edifice here, that this building, will not just be an end in itself, but will be the beginning of a new era of education for the people of Breaffy and for their children. Indeed, as a man from my own parish one time said, you know, you'll be going to school until your noses turn up with education. Well, may they not turn up with education, but may they use whatever facilities are made available to them through the educational process for the benefit of their own lives and for the general benefit of the community. I'm very happy, ladies and gentlemen, to be associated with the words of Minister Flynn in the opening of your fine school building here, and I wish everybody associated with it genuine good fortune, and may the children who use it have success in whatever they do or wherever they travel in the years ahead.
Hold on a minute. There is one thing I think that should be said, and so that it can be recorded, cousin. When Sean Taylor designed this school, he did something special. He broke an enormous tradition of school building in Ireland. And Sean Taylor's design, as constructed by Willie Cosgrove and his men, did the job for about just short of half of what it would have cost in the traditional method. So Sean Taylor and Willie Cosgrove and this community have done a super job in showing the way to how the job can be done and should be done in this country. Some old thing here that India thinks that he has the power to do, but he hasn't.
I can't announce this, but he'll do it.
No, I'm afraid we'd have to.
Get out of the cabin.
Well, wait a moment now. There's an old tradition. There's an old tradition here that archbishops can get away with, and others. So, if it's all, where's Canon? Are you there, Canon? Well, with your kind permission, and with the indulgence of Prentice O'Muel Louis, the Minister Harcion on Ara Educate would like to say that at some convenient time, Principal Tom Higgins, that the children should have a special treat on behalf of this opening, and she could give them a half day with my blessing.
After all that, I thought we were going to go party political broadcast for a minute. I'd like to thank the Minister and then Mr. Kenny and all of you. I want to thank the parents who provided the food for you that I hope you will all eat now. Thanks to Karen and to my fellow priests who have come here. And look, enjoy it, eat it up please. God bless you, thanks a lot.
Louder. Hip, hip.